This is a Global Original Podcast. As you can hear from the echoey sound of my voice, I'm recording this from Dominic Cummings' office at number 10 Downing Street. It's completely empty. There's not even a box in here. This week, a police person versus a dame, the next best thing to having a car, where grey squirrels come from, and the solution to all of our problems. But first, a brief recap of the frog issue from the last podcast, and then we get stuck into the hemp. I mean, people talk about, climate change ain't happening and the dying off of the animals isn't really a thing, but all you have to do is remember back to when you were young and how many insects were in the air then that aren't there now, and you realise that, well, yes, it is happening. It's because it's happening relatively slowly. It's not from a massive change from one day to the next that would be noticeable. But it's like a frog in water. If you put a frog in boiling water, then it will express its concern. But if you put it in cold water and then heat it slowly, apparently it'll just stay in there. Stupid frogs. Jerry says, classic mainstream Nick Abbot. Classic mainstream Nick Abbot saying that climate change is the big issue, but as soon as he has concerns about his car, he doesn't care one bit. Top gear for me now. What does that mean? As soon as I have concerns, didn't have concerns about my car. It died. As in, doesn't work anymore. And I have to have a car. Therefore, I had to go and buy one. Which, by the way, is much less polluting than the one that just died. See, doing my bit to protect the environment. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Paul says, you haven't told us what car you bought. Steve Allen always tells us about his Bentley. Well, if Steve Allen keeps going on about his Bentley, then I'm certainly not going to tell you what car I bought, because that would be embarrassing. Let's have a call in Transylvania. All right, I'll play along. Stephen.
Hello there, how are you?
Hello there. I'm great, mate.
Okay, let's cut to the quick. Right, all this talk with the environment, the solutions, right? One of the major solutions we have out there is very unexpected. It's agricultural hemp.
Agricultural hemp.
Want to score some pot?
Yes.
No, let's not be funny. Let's not take it off on that angle. Otherwise, we're just wasting our time.
Whose time?
It's a serious subject. Okay,
whose time are we wasting?
Story. Well, talking about pot, we're not on about pot. We're on about our environment. And one of the
is this the royal we?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Right, agricultural hemp has been grown since time immemorial. When you look at it, the British Museum just used it as building material because it stays at an ambient temperature. The British Library has just used it as a building material. Most of the major car manufacturers are using the hemp fibres for the internal boards and the plastic. Henry Ford built one of his first cars out of hemp plastic. It was 7 times stronger than steel.
You're talking about hemp as though you've just discovered it, but
no. It's been going for centuries.
Well, exactly. So why are you telling us about it?
Well, because we're not using it in today's modern environment.
Okay, thanks a lot, Stephen. All right, well, we use more hemp. Hemp is an amazing product. You can make pretty much anything out of it. You can make rope out of it. I mean, that's what they used to make rope out of. You can make clothes out of it. You can make... I've just run out. But it should be more frequently used. I mean, for T-shirts and such. Absolutely. We should make less stuff out of cotton, because cotton, I think, is the most destructive crop there is. I mean, as far as the chemicals that are needed to make it grow proper. We squirt the land with more poisonous stuff trying to make cotton than practically any other crop. I think coffee is right up there as a main contributor to poisons on the land, but cotton is the worst of the lot. We've got to get our addiction to cotton, and hemp would be a good way forward. As an example, Paul says there's no such thing as a grey squirrel. They are simply elderly red squirrels. Amanda says, I can only speak for myself, Nick, but 65 is really challenging when you realise that not only that you've grown up, but that you are old. Everything changes. Good luck with it, says Amanda. Amanda's 65 years old. And Linda says, ladybirds are the most beautiful things and they are amazing. No, they aren't. They're a bloomin' pest. They get in among your nooks and your crannies.
Disgusting.
Exactly. And then they I don't know, the windows in my house are absolute rubbish. Ladybirds can crawl through them when they're shut. And they, in the wintertime, they just they secrete themselves in the window frames. You know, when the windows are closed, they climb in from the outside and don't come all the way inside, and they just stay there in clumps. And they stink, and they bite you as well. Ladybirds are not amazing and beautiful. They're bloomin' annoying. And this says, maybe you don't know this, but the ultra-low emission zone is the brainchild of your beloved European Union. In fact, we're paying a fine today in a year on... In fact, we are paying a fine today in year on year, as are other countries. Hope you're happy. What on earth does that mean? We are paying a fine today in year on year, as are other countries. Does that make sense?
No.
Well, it fits right in on this show. Pete says, actually, frogs do notice changes in water temperature and will jump out. Sorry to say, it's a myth. They notice changes in temperature and then they jump out. Well, that's why you always need a hammer to hand. I'm joking, of course. I'm against frog violence. Stockton-on-Tees. Hello, Brian.
Yeah, good evening, Nick.
Brian.
Well, I agree with you. Change is coming.
What?
You know, change is coming. I agree with you. Is it a surprise?
I'm stunned. I'm sitting here. I'm stirring my tea, but I'm also stunned.
I mean, really, electric cars have been held up on purpose for years and years. The road should now be full of electric cars.
Yes, that's right. But
the oil companies make that much money.
Well, perhaps. There's some reason why they didn't take off. You know that I saw a picture of cabs in New York in 1900. It's in I think it was in the Design Museum that I saw it. And the legend underneath said all of the cabs in New York I think it was 1900, used to be electric. I'll pause to let that sink in. All of the taxis in New York 100 years ago or more used to be electric.
Well, around about 15, 20 years ago in America, General Motors were all fossil fuel cars and that. And they've done a thing, they made 200 electric cars, Nick. Right? And people, they want to scrap them, 200 cars, you know, like a trial thing. And people in America tried to buy them, and they scrapped them. They won't even let them buy them.
Yeah, they gave them to influencers, didn't they? And famous people and so on. Yeah.
And they didn't want it to catch on.
Right.
And all the adverts on this programme, all the adverts were 4x4s, gas guzzlers. They want to spend, you to spend as much on petrol, more on petrol, because it's all more money. And these people are right in London now, these protesters. They need it. They need sorting out. And I think they're going to get change. I think all over Europe now...
You don't really think that, though, do you?
No, they will. It is gathering. It's been in France today.
I think that the change that is required to stop climate change from happening, from the worst effects of climate change happening, will be so enormous in our daily lives. The change that is required will be so huge that people just will not do it.
Well, I don't agree with you there, Nick. I mean, don't forget, we have been brainwashed into living our lives the way we're living them. Haven't we, really?
Yes, I think so.
You know, but now you're getting a lot of people now on the media and everything. People are now realising on every aspect of governments, MPs, world leaders all over the world that have been telling lies to you. And I think now people are, yes, we're saying the snowflakes and that, some are, but I think they're going to get change.
You know,
if
you're talking about Jacob Rees-Mogg calling the protesters snowflakes, which is among the most ridiculous things that that man has ever said. Which is,
I think Emma Thompson is.
Which is
a
packed list. Snowflakes. What a preposterous thing to say.
If
it's somebody who cannot abide an opinion that differs from their own, then Jacob Rees-Mogg, you are a snowflake.
I don't agree with Emma Thompson, though. Emma Thompson, I mean, if a human breaks when she'd complain, you know, and she'll complain about anything.
You're only saying that because she's an actress. If she were a scientist, then you wouldn't have nothing to say about it.
I mean, this woman, she was born in London, Nick. She was born in London. And she calls this country a little grey country. You know, she doesn't live here.
It is a little grey country.
No, it's a little great country, Nick. It's a little great country. It always has been.
Yeah, but it is also grey. I mean, grey is the defining colour of this country. Yes, it is.
But she's a staunch Remainer, and that's the main reason she said it. Emma Thompson. You know, and she wants to stay in the EU, and
yeah,
a lot of it.
There's an opinion that you disagree with, so you can't stand it. Hey, Brian, you're not a snowflake, are you?
No, I think you're more of a snowflake than me, Nick. To be truthful. No, I'm definitely not. But I want change, same as you. And I think that things have been held back just because of money. Mm. And the people are catching on to it now. We've been brainwashed into the way we live our lives.
This protest will dissipate, and
I don't think it will.
I'm telling you, it's going to, and no change will come from it. Not one iota.
Stop being defeatist, Nick.
I'm just being truthful, Brian. People are not going to change their lives. They won't.
This will snowball. This.
Yeah. Well, you know what a snowball is made up of.
Coming up, the future of cars is cabs.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yes, it's trying to save the world on a pink boat. DJ says house prices will soon be valued by altitude. I think there's something to be said for that. Anybody that's at sea level, then you are in big trouble. Huge. Pauline emails, 1, support the climate. Wait. 1, support the climate change protesters. Additionally, 2, what? Does this make sense? Not so far. I'll just read it as it's written. Pauline emails, 1, I support the climate change protesters. Additionally, 2, I believe that air pollution is causing health problems, especially for children. Incidentally, 3, how's your throat and your chesty cough? It's it hasn't cleared up yet. God knows what that was that I got a face full of. But whatever it was just real serious poison. I think Vladimir Putin was involved. Who, me? No, why you say this? Gaz tweets, Nick, it's blinking freezing out here. I just seen a bloke coming out of the pub with a woolly hat, scarf and gloves on. Well, where's here? Where are you, Gaz? Can't be cold outside in London, mate, because it's... I'll just check while you wait. 55. Well, that is actually quite... I would describe that as chilly. Anything below 70 degrees is cold, and that's a fact. Hackney, hello, Richard.
Hello, Nick.
Richard.
Before we start, I think I might owe you an apology.
Haven't we started yet?
Last time we spoke, I may have suggested a few things for your radio show.
Yes. What were they?
I was talking about sound effects.
Sound effects? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Got those.
And yes, I know you have. And I'm thinking about it. It's not a great thing when some complete random stranger comes up and suggests to someone, how to improve their radio show.
Oh, so please tell me. I'm desperate to find out how can I improve my radio show?
Well, that's exactly what I thought. The minute I hung up, I thought, oh my God, I'm that guy who's just come up and said, you don't want to be doing it like that.
Yeah.
You want to be doing it like this.
Now, are you one of those people that goes up to a DJ in a club and says, "Have you got any good music?"
You want to play this, mate? Have you considered, Anastasia by T99?
How about Ken? Yeah, have you got any Ken Dodd?
The reason I phoned in though is when you replaced your car, did you think about a zip car?
No, for a very good reason.
Why?
because they're not there whenever you want them. They may be there, they may not be there. A zip car, if for people who don't know, and I guess they're not really in places outside of London really much, are they? Or certainly not in places that aren't the centre of cities. Zip cars are like cars that you rent by the hour.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, because we have a little a bay which has been put aside for zip cars.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that when my car, which is also not ULEZ compliant, finally dies,
right?
Given that it costs me the MOT, the insurance, the inevitable repair every year,
yeah, that's right,
and how much I actually use it, I'm thinking that when it dies, I might go for a zip car.
Right. Well, you live in Hackney, so I would imagine that because I live out in the middle of, well, relatively speaking, the middle of nowhere, and without a car, you can't go to the shops and you can't go to the garden centre or any of these things. But in Hackney, you could walk everywhere, right?
Well, yeah, until you have to go down to, as you say, the garden centre, or you have to drive into work or drop someone off at the airport. But I've got a car. I use it maybe twice a month. And I'm thinking for that.
Twice a month? I use mine every day.
Really? Every day?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was just like the weekend drive into work.
No.
What happened?
I drive to the gym, so I don't have to walk there. That's how stupid I am.
Can you imagine if we swapped all of the private cars, the hire cars, though, and so every parking space, all those parking spaces on the street, just became zip car spaces.
Yes, this is where we're going, and car manufacturers are freaking out because the kids today, they're not really interested in owning a car because of all the reasons that you just explained. Because, well, first of all, you've got to pass your blooming test, and then you've got to insure it and road tax it, and the petrol and on, and you have the parking and so on. They just call up Uber.
Well, exactly, which is the same thing, isn't it? Uber is the zip car of the day. It would be nice to see the London Mayor offer a bit of carrot instead of stick. Like, if you're driving a zip car, you don't have congestion charge, you don't have ULEZ charge, you don't have to pay parking.
Well, the parking thing is a big one, but I don't think that electric cars do pay road tax, do they?
I don't think zip cars are all electric. Certainly all the ones parked outside our place aren't.
Oh, I thought that they were. I thought that was their thing.
Oh, maybe you're right. I don't know. Certainly when my car dies, I'm thinking that's the way I'm going to go, and I'm thinking that's the way that most people are heading towards.
I think that if you live in the city and you because living in the countryside is a different thing entirely. But if you live in the city, if I still lived within walking distance of a tube station, for instance, then what would you need a car for? You just don't.
Well,
most of the time you come into town, you come by train or by tube. Because there's absolutely no point. You're sitting in traffic all day because somebody's clogging up the middle of Oxford Circus with a blooming boat, for crying out loud.
But it's amazing that we have this idea that we rent stuff and we pay per minute for stuff.
Yeah.
But the car we have to have.
Yeah, and I think that feeling is dying with the new generation. I don't think the kids are really interested in owning their own car. That it just feels like an irritation to them. It's not freedom to them. Freedom is just dialing up your app and having somebody come and take you to wherever you want to go. Exactly. That sounds like freedom to me. If they're not kissing in the backseat anymore, they're I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they are. Maybe that's exactly what they're doing. Kissing in the backseat while some poor bloke up the front is taking them where they want to go.
Disgusting.
Awful. Cut it out, kids.
Yes, put that armrest down and stay on your own side. Coming up, the old-style solution to modern world problems.
Gaz tweets, it's blinking freezing out. I read that. Timothy says, I love that I heard in the LBC News Nick Abbot in trouble for drinking a mojito on a train. Priceless from Zora. What on earth are you talking about? Have I missed something?
I think they've got you confused with Diane Abbott.
Oh, right. Paul in Paisley says, I'm 46 and I've never owned or driven a car and was last on a plane when I was 10 years old. Can I have a knighthood?
No.
This says, change is coming and so is Jesus. We all need to wake up. Yeah, wake up, everybody. Jesus is coming. Yeah, I don't think the Lord is going to insert himself into our business. He sat out the Holocaust. I very much doubt that he's going to be around anytime soon. It's Diane Abbott apologises after drinking a mojito on a TfL train. Well, so what? What's that going to do with anything?
Well, they thought you were Diane Abbott, the texter.
Right. On a Transport for London train. But that's not illegal. Why does she have to apologise for drinking a mojito on a train? I think, wasn't it Bozo the Mayor when he was the Mayor of London? Didn't he say that you can't drink alcohol on the tube? Ain't that right, Boris? Yeah, I think so. You can't drink alcohol on the tube in order to dissuade people from, acting the goat. I don't think that's helped any, but I don't think that Diane Abbott should apologise for drinking a mojito on a train. Who cares? Apparently, there's a ban on drinking on all public transport since 2008. There's a ban on drinking on all public transport since 2008. Really? On all public transport? All of it?
That's what this ITV News article says. TfL apparently said it.
Well, then put me in cuffs and take me to jail.
I don't think people listen to it.
Nobody's paying attention to that. The law is an ass. Yeah, not one of those sight horses either. Zach emails, the country's really gone mental. Offensive. The country's really gone mental seeing Nanny McPhee lecturing us mere mortals about climate change from a pink boat in the middle of Oxford Circus. I've seen it all. Name one decent film Emma Bloomin' the Dame Thompson has ever done. She's not even a good actress. Utterly rubbish and not funny. Also, Mr. Abbott, I will not have you slag off dear ladybugs. They are beautiful every time I see one. I wish I could keep it as a pet. Well, go ahead and knock yourself out, Zach. And in the middle of the night, when you're busy sleeping, that beautiful ladybug will come over and eat your face off. Emma Thompson's been in lots of good films, and she's a good actress. And she, got it in the neck because she flew over here in order to join in the protestations. And she said that if she could fly cleanly, then she would. But that doesn't wash with the great unwashed. They'll pick on anything that a person has ever done in order to rubbish an opinion they don't agree with. You know, science has been wrong about something in the past, so we can dismiss that. Eco-protesters have plastic in their homes, so we can dismiss them. Some of the kids there have parents who drive 4x4s. There's one eating a hamburger. No! So there was a pink boat in Oxford Circus, and Emma ascended the ladder to the deck of the boat to cheers from the crowd before dozens of police officers surrounded them. The boat was encircled by a ring of at least 30 officers, and once Dame Emma had got back on solid ground, the officers began putting protesters in chains and taking them away, where they will be punished to the full extent of the law. Emma said, I'm sure everyone feels the same, that to inconvenience people and to disrupt their lives is not desirable, but sometimes, as the suffragettes would have said when they were fighting for the vote, and let us not forget that they disrupted an awful lot of people's lives in order to get something that we now take for granted. And besides, I would say that this issue is more important than, for instance, the Notting Hill Carnival, which must create a lot more disruption and for no good reason other than some people want to have a nice time. Maybe we should get rid of that. Dame Emma told reporters at Oxford Circus that she'd come to support the movement and had been greatly inspired by it. She said her generation and politicians had failed young people. Correct, Amundo. Old people have failed the young. We've used the planet like a dustbin, and then we get incensed when our poor behaviour is pointed out to us. Just like in life. I mean, if you see some fit and able person park across two disabled spaces because they're the closest ones to the shops, The reaction you'll get if you point out their poor behaviour will be off-the-scale berserk. You'll get the full, it's my right, I can do what I want.
Oh, fabulous.
Like that. Well, the people who rail against the idea of human-caused climate change are just like that. One officer told bystanders that there was an ordinance to clear the area with dozens of officers stationed beyond the group by a number of police vans parked in Regent Street. They were all over the place. I was in that area yesterday and asked if she was willing to be arrested. Dame Emma Thompson, asked if the police person was willing to arrest Emma Thompson. He shrugged and said something off mic which could not be heard properly. So some journalist asked the police person if they were going to arrest Dame Emma. And a police person shrugged and said something that couldn't be heard properly, but probably ended with the word off.
Disgusting.
Exactly. Rude. Mads in Norway says, have you talked about electric vehicles? Here in Norway, the sale has definitely taken off. The blue pillars and the numbers on the left shows the number of electric cars sold. What are you talking about? L-Bill Bestand equals number of electric cars. Red dots and percentages on the right shows the market share. Marked Sandel. Every third car sold here in Norway is electric. It's amazing. It makes the air cleaner, says Mads. Does that make sense?
No.
There's probably a chart missing. Where's my chart? That might make sense if there was a chart. But I think we can just assume that the Norwegians are always so perfect. Let's have a call in Poole. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick. Good evening to you.
Jan.
Nick, I think your stress levels are rising.
Huge amounts.
Over the last, few weeks, we've had this near-death experience with the builder's dust, the mysterious illness.
Yeah.
We've had all those mechanical problems with that helmet imp of yours. Now you've got buyer's remorse. Now you got rid of it and having put out
I haven't got rid of it. It's still standing there, motionless.
Well, that could be a problem. You try to get rid of a scrap car these days.
Yeah, I'll have to pay somebody to come and take it away.
You had all that problem with the goldfinches in your garden.
Goldfinch? Oh, those, yeah.
Now
messy.
you seem to be developing some sort of hostility towards squirrels and ladybirds.
Yes.
You're in that studio, the blooming lights keep going off.
The blooming lights keep going out.
The lights keep going out. It's Remain here and Leave there and Corbyn and Tommy Robinson and Jacob Rees-Mogg and then a bloke telling you to hire
I know.
a car.
You listen to this show and it's all...
whinging and whining and moaning.
To hire a car made of agricultural hemp.
Yes,
you can't get on the tube for guide horses. You're in the middle of a nightmare. But fortunately,
yes,
I've got the solution.
You do?
You need an allotment. You need an allotment, so one day a week you can push open those allotment gates, walk up to your shed, unlock it, pick up your fork, and you're away from it all.
Right. Well, just as long as David Cameron isn't in there when I open it up.
I think this is nonsense.
There's one allotment in North London I think you do want to avoid if you don't want a Marx history education class when you're planting your beetroot.
Oh, that.
But I won't go into that end of it. But you're in a different world when you're down there. You've got the birds singing.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of badinage.
The lights have just gone out.
Have they?
Right, that's better.
It's almost prophetic what I've said. Anyway, the other folks are there.
So what have you got in your allotment there, Jan?
Well, at the minute, we're just lining up now to start planting out. At the minute, all I've got is a few leeks left, overwintering garlic, overwintering onions, and a few bits. But at home, I've got, 50 to 100 pots of stuff, which will go out when the last frost has gone. But that atmosphere, that throat problem of yours, that builder's bronchial thing, a few hours in the fresh air, digging the soil, getting back in touch with Mother Nature.
Have you been outside lately? The air is like soup.
I was out there today and it was absolutely beautiful. I was sitting in the shade of the trees at the back of my plot, exchanging a few pleasantries. Allotment people are very nice, you know. They've always they'll look at you and say, "How are your plums coming along?"
Excuse me?
And you say, "Oh, fine," you know. Or if it's winter, they might say, "Your sprouts tightening nicely." This is gardening talk, you know. It's gardening talk, and it's the world you need to get into, I think.
I don't know. It sounds
you
like...
get on the council waiting list.
Yeah.
And then you get the phone call or the letter, and it says a plot has come available. And all of a sudden, at least for one day a week, you're out of that world, of that hectic world of madness.
Yes.
I mean, you've got half the barn pots in the UK ringing you up. Agricultural hemp.
I thought it was way above 50%.
Well,
but I always was wondering about people with allotments. Don't people with allotments spy someone else's products and nick them?
No, very, very seldom.
Really?
Yeah, occasionally you do get a little bit of vandalism on some plots, but by and large they're a very honest crowd, you know. The allotment world's changed a lot lately. It's not all sort of woodbines and corrugated iron anymore. I mean, the bloke next to me actually has cappuccino in his thermos.
Huh.
And so there's a kind of slightly upmarket air to some of them. But no, there's not a lot of theft. Well, there is a lot of goodwill, people offering you a few plants they've got left over, or a loan of this or a loan of that. Or you might say, I'll put my strimmer through that patch of nettles for you. It's a different world. All of a sudden, everything slows down. It's peaceful. It's well ordered, and you're back there. You're back with your feet in the soil. Your boots are on, mind you. You do need them, and you can. The time, it stops, and it passes very, very gently.
Well, I'm sold.
Now, an additional problem that I can solve for you is the absence of insects, because once you start planting things, you'll find that there's plenty of insects in this world.
Well, not as many as there used to be, Jan. That's absolutely true.
I'm not sure if the windscreen method is the soundest method of measuring insect populations.
Why not?
It could well be that insects wisely avoid fast roads. Unlike pheasants and badgers.
Well, they've learned their lesson about their relatives being splatted across the front of...
Well, apparently they're the most sort of successful things on Earth, insects.
Yes.
And it could well be that there's an intelligence there that we've yet to investigate.
Right. Well, there's certainly none among humans, so I'll look into it. Thanks a lot, Jan. Cheers, mate. I'll see you at the alarm. I'll bring my own spade. How are your onions, by the way?
No time to find out, because that's it. If you subscribe to this podcast, then you'll find the next episode gets squirted up your life on Mondays as though by magic. Don't forget that I also do a podcast with Carol McGiffin called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while laughing like hyenas. If you would like us to solve your problem, then send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. That's nickandcarol@global.com. And prepare to be completely satisfied. I also do a podcast called The Whole Show, which is, as it sounds, the whole show from my radio gig, with the adverts and the news stripped out, so it's quicker to listen to. And you can find that where you found this. Just do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbot, podcasts, and it will all become clear. And I'll be back on the radio, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night at 10. And until then, I'll be seeing you.
Bye-bye.